As a licensed realtor, I get this asked all the time, whether you're actually looking to buy or just want to plan out your future. How much house can I afford? Well, let's talk. You see, your home affordability is broken down into three categories: income, debt, and credit. Income is any constant money that's coming into your account. This could be your salary, your child benefits, your pension plans, and in some cases, even your rental income. Now, the situation of how the bank considers your income will vary in your case scenario. For example, if you're running a business, the banks might require 2 years of constant income just to see security and stability. Or if you're working for an employer, they might only consider last 3 months of income. It really just depends on your personal situation and your financial levels. Debt is any money you're owing to the government. It could be your credit card debt or even any private debts that you have accumulated on your account or just on your private life. And we all talk about good debt and bad debt, but in this case scenario, when you're getting a mortgage, almost every debt is bad debt, especially when you're not cash flowing or you're not making anything in return of that debt. So any car payments, any phones on monthly installments, or even any electronics or other items that are on a monthly pay plan are a huge no-no for the banks. And lastly, your credit. The banks want to look at how well you handle your money. So they want to look at a good credit score. And these are kind of the things you have to build on early ahead before you're ready to apply for a mortgage. And don't ever be discouraged, because every bad situation can be fixed. If you have a bad credit, there are ways to fix that. If you have debt on your account, there are ways to pay that off. And there's ways to save enough income for your purchase. Especially nowadays, the government offers a wide variety of programs and wide variety of saving accounts available for Canadians. So in this example, we're going to use 4 tiers of income: 40K, 60K, 80K, and 120K. The Canadian median income right now sits at 68,400, which is very close to the 40K bracket. And if you're here in Alberta, the average income is one of the highest in Canada, which is 77,000 annually. So we're going to take that to the closest tier of 80,000, and we have a tier above that and below that to kind of give you an average, so you know exactly what you can buy no matter what price point you're looking at. And at the end of this video, we'll do a fun experiment to see how much you need to make to buy $1 million property here in Canada. Now, to get to the most accurate number here, I'm going to use a variety of different sources, starting off with one of these great apps that we're going to do a stress test with to see how much you need to make to qualify at the current interest rate, which would be 5.25%. And then we're going to do another experiment to see how much you would qualify using a 4.25% interest rate. That would kind of give you an idea of when the interest rates do eventually come down, how much you can expect to pay or how much more of a mortgage you're able to get with the lower interest rates. So let's start. And remember, to keep things really nice and simple here, we're not considering any debt, we're considering a good credit, and we're not considering any heating expenses, any property taxes, or any of the additional things that might fluctuate the numbers. Something like even condo fee could fluctuate the numbers here and there, so keep that in mind. Now, starting off, our gross income of 40,000, which brings us to a max loan amount of 198,552. At a stress test of 6.25 and the qualification rate of 5.25. Again, heating is 0, condo fee is 0, property taxes are 0. If I add, let's say, $100 off property taxes every month, that decreases our amount a little bit. And if we be more reasonable with the property tax, typically what you would find, you're looking at 168. And if you're looking to buy a condo in that price range, you are somewhere around 150, 145 ballpark. But again, to keep things nice and simple, we're gonna say you can qualify for 180,000 using a 40,000 income, which means your 5% down payment would be 9,000. And when you're buying, no property taxes, no heating, no maintenance, no insurance, no utilities, nothing else is added on top here. And with that price range here in Calgary, you can find yourself a 1 to 2 bedroom condo like this one, or even this one. So most likely older buildings, one of the cheapest entry into real estate here in Calgary specifically. And if you opt in for the 1 bedroom, you can find nicer renovations, newer build properties. If you opt in for the 2 bedrooms, you're looking at something that are built in 1970s, 1980s, or sometimes even 1960s. And with that, remember, whenever you're buying with 5%, 10%, 15%, or anything below 20% down payment, you have to pay CHMC. In this case scenario, with a 180K purchase price and $9,000 down payment, your CHMC comes down to $6,840, which means your total mortgage amount would be $177,840. That at a 5.25% interest rate would mean your monthly mortgage will become $1,060. And if you're making $40K annually, that means you're roughly making $333 every single month. That means almost 32% of your monthly income will be going into your mortgage. On top of that, do keep in mind you do have your utilities, property taxes, maintenances, and other costs that are associated with keeping a property. On the bright side, you're always building equity into something that's actually yours. You have the freedom to use the property, relocate, move, sell, and always pull out the appreciation you're building over the years. Next up, $60,000. So let's say if you're making $60,000 every single year, you can qualify for something around $280,000. That at a 5% down payment means your down payment would be $14,000. Again, no property taxes or heat included. You can buy yourself a 2 to 3 bedroom condo, or here in Calgary, you can even find some townhomes around that price point. Something like this, and even this. So lots of great options. Townhomes are where you feel the freedom and the independence of living privately, where you're not sharing the walls with a lot of neighbors in front of you, around you, on top, bottom floors, and all that kind of stuff. And in this case scenario, your CHMC comes down to $10,640, leaving you with a mortgage of $276,640. And that at a 5.25% interest rate, you're looking at a monthly mortgage of $1,649. Next up, let's say you're making $80,000. Now remember, these annual income can be combined. It could be income of you and your spouse, or it could even be income of you and your brother, your siblings, your friends, or whoever you're combining or getting together with to buy the property. With $80,000, you can qualify for something around $360,000. That with a 5% down payment is $18,000. And your CHMC on that is calculated to around $13,680, leaving you with a total mortgage of $355,680. This is where you really open up a lot of options. You can easily find yourself 3-bedroom places. It could be a 3-bedroom condo, 3-bedroom townhome, or in some cases, if you put a little bit of more down payment or you squeeze your budget a little bit, you can even find yourself into a semi-detached property, which means there's absolutely no condo fee. You own the land, you own the roof, you own everything about the house. You are just sharing a wall with another neighbor. And these are some of the semi-detached properties you can find. Something like this, and this. And if you don't like older properties, you can find yourself something very decent in and around of downtown, or a little bit away from downtown in a townhome like this, or this. And with this, your monthly mortgage would be $21,020. Now moving up to the $120,000 every year. This is where your options really start to open up. You can qualify for a mortgage of about $550,000. Huge. With the down payment of 5.5%, you're looking to pay $30,250. Now you may be wondering why the 0.5. You see, whenever you're buying a property that is above the $500,000 mark, you have to pay a minimum of 10% up to $100,000. If that sounds a little confusing, let me explain. So if you're buying a property below the $500,000 mark, you only pay 5% down. But the second you move up from that $500,000 to a max limit of $1 million, that balance is what you have to pay 10% on. So in this case, we're going $50,000 over the $500,000. So on that $50,000, we're paying 10%. Which turns out to be 5.5%. With that, your CHMC is maxed out at $20,790, leaving you with a mortgage of $540,000. That brings your monthly payments to $3,321. Now, on top of that, there's always closing costs that are associated with a purchase. Here in Alberta, the things are a little bit different. If you're buying pre-owned, you don't have any GST or any applicable taxes on top of the purchase price. So all you're really paying for your closing costs are the lawyer fees or some property inspection and doing your due diligence fee, which would be something around $2,000 to $3,000. You're not paying your realtors, you're not paying your mortgage brokers, and there's honestly not a lot other costs associated in a typical transaction. But if you're living in Ontario, BC, or any other provinces, the rules could be different. There might be tax implications or a land transfer fee associated on top of the purchase price. Keep that in mind. Now, this calculation is done on 5.25% interest rate. Hoping with the prediction of the interest rates going down moving forward, this is what the same scenarios will look like with the interest rate of 4.25%. So a difference, but not big enough to make you not want to buy a property. Because remember, whenever interest rates come down, the demand goes up, and when demand goes up, the prices go up. So as you probably already heard, buy the property when you can actually afford, and if the interest rates do come down, refinance. And with that, these numbers might not look very appealing, especially when you're looking to buy your first home. We usually have an expectation of what we want our dream home to look like, and we often miss out on opportunity of taking action at all just because we can't land into that dream home. So I hope that makes sense. What I'm trying to say is buy your first property with the intent of taking the first action and at least getting into the process of home ownership. Once you are a landlord, once you have built enough equity in your own property by paying off your mortgage and building appreciation over years, then you can refinance, put in a bigger down payment, and you can hopefully land into your ideal dream home. So don't wait, because I see my buyers do this all the time. They're waiting and waiting. They're renting this entire time just because they can't buy their dream home at the current financial situation. Because honestly, buying your dream home as your very first home is not only impractical, but it's also very, very tough. And the longer you're waiting, the longer you're wasting money into paying rent. And on top of that, don't forget you're losing potential appreciation that would have came with the purchase of your property. Now, with the dream of everyone wanting to be a millionaire and wanting to buy $1 million property, well, this is how much you need to make for $1 million property. You need an income of about $160,000 to $200,000 annually. With that, you also need a 20% down payment, because remember, the second you're buying anything more than $1 million, you cannot make 5, 10, or 15% down. The minimum down payment is 20%. That turns out to $200,000 cash. With 0% CHMC, your mortgage amount will be $800,000, leaving you with a monthly mortgage of $4,317 at a 4.25 interest. And in this case scenario, your closing costs will also be probably a little bit higher. So let's say $3,000 to $5,000. And with that, I hope this video acts as a self-guide to help you understand how much you can potentially qualify for a home. Once again, this is not a legal advice and these numbers are not firm. So make sure you talk to your mortgage broker and your realtor who truly understands your unique circumstances. With that, I'm a licensed realtor here in Calgary, so if you're looking to buy, sell, or relocate, give me a call and I'll be happy to help. Once again, my name is Mohit and I'll see you in the next one.